Hello, everyone. Welcome to lesson 31 for Education for Nepal English Group. This is our YouTube link for past recordings. And today we'll be teaching computer science and then pop culture and then finishing with astronomy. So our first topic today is computer science, and we'll be doing arrays. So arrays are really commonly used in computer science. They're used to store multiple values in a single variable instead of declaring them separately. Like if you wanted to store, let's say, five numbers instead of declaring five variables to store the five numbers, you could just make one array to store all five numbers. So for Java, the array declaration is done by first declaring your data type and then two brackets and then the name of your array. And then obviously you can give the array any, well, not any data type, but like probably most data types would be fine. All the basic ones like int, string, char, bool, float, or whatever would all work for arrays. And yeah, normally if you want to use an array, you wouldn't declare it like with the brackets blank. You have to give it a number to tell it like to set its size, right? Like you don't set its size, you can't give it values because its default size is zero, which means it can't hold any values. So you can choose to either give it a size when you declare an array, like I can put the number four between the brackets to show that my array will hold four numbers, or I can directly just give it four numbers if I already know which four numbers I want to give it. So arrays have something called indexes. Indexes are essentially just numerical values that tell us where things are in the array, right? So arrays are zero indexed, which means they start from zero and not one. So basically the first value in the array is zero, like the first index value is zero, and then it goes on until the last value, right? This might be a bit confusing for some people at first because normally when you count, you start from one and not zero. But yeah, and also array size is fixed, which means you can't change it. So if I set my array size to four initially, I can't just suddenly put five values in it. You'll get an error because your array can only hold four values because you set its size to four initially. And then if you want to find the array size easily, you can do something called you just use the dot length function. So you just type the name of your array and then dot length with parentheses, and this will give you the size of your array. So if my array size is four and I do this function, it will return four. And for changing a value in the array or accessing one, you just type the name of your array. Now the brackets are after your array name. So when we're declaring the array, we put brackets next to the data type. When we want to get a value from the array, we put brackets after the array name. So right here, we're setting the first value in our array to one. So we just say numbers bracket zero equals one because zero is our first index. So next is something called 2D arrays. So whenever you use arrays, you definitely use 1D and 2D arrays. There are 3D arrays and possibly 4D arrays, though no one's ever going to use a 3D array and 4D array, and I'll explain why later. So a 2D array is just basically an array of arrays, right? So um, if you've ever played Minecraft, right, you know there's like shulker boxes, right? So it's like if you put your items in the shulker box and then you put that shulker box into a chest. That's how a 2D array works. So you're just putting an array inside of another array. And then the big array essentially can hold as many arrays as you want it to hold, I guess. And when you declare 2D arrays, you have to declare it using two brackets to show that it's 2D. And 2D array is also zero indexed, so the first value is just two zeros instead of one because now it's 2D. And yeah, the main reason why people don't use 3D or 4D arrays is because it's impossible to like, or it's almost impossible to traverse through all of like a large 3D or 4D array, right? Because if you try to loop through a 2D array, that's already really slow. That's n squared times. It's exponential. So if you try to loop through a 3D array, it's going to be n cubed time. Now, if that 3D array is super huge, n cubed is going to be really big, and therefore the amount of time it takes to go through every single value in the array is going to be really, really slow. So just keep that in mind when you create your arrays, because even a 2D array can get really big and take a long time to loop through. Okay, now we're going to something a bit different. It's called an array list. So an array list is basically a dynamic array, which just means it can change size, right? So earlier I said arrays have a fixed size, like they can't change it. If you initially set its size to four, it's always going to be four. It's never going to be five, six, seven, eight, or whatever, right? But array list is different. Array list, you can change the size of the array list. But the array list is actually not naturally part of Java, kind of like how string is not a one of the primitive data types, right? So you actually have to import the array list using the java.util package. So you just type import java.util.arraylist, and now you're allowed to use an array list. If you try to use an array list without importing it, you're going to have an error. Like it's going to Java's like your compiler is not going to recognize it, right? So declaring an array list is also a bit different from an array. We no longer use brackets. Instead, we type array list and then use the uh less than sign and then your data type and then the greater than sign and then your array name and then the rest you can see right there. So array list, like arrays, are also zero indexed, which means the first value is zero. And array lists can also not be directly accessed like normal arrays. So earlier we saw that with normal arrays, you can just type array name, like the name of your array, like let's say numbers, right? Numbers bracket zero, and that'll give me the first value of my array, right? Now you have to use a function to do it. So here we have a function called dot get. So if I type the name of my array list and then use dot get and then the index, that'll give me the value from the index, right? So if I do numbers dot get zero, it's giving me the value of the first index of the array list. So array list also has like a bunch of other functions. Here I've listed just like the useful ones that you use, but it's got like dozens more functions that you don't have to memorize. But if you ever need them, you can just like Google them or whatever, right? So inserting is really important because you have to be able to add values to an array list, right? So you just use dot add, simple enough, right? You dot add and you put in the value that you want to add, and it adds it to the end of the array list, which is just like the right side, right? So like because you're going from counting from zero all the way to whatever, right? And now if you want to change a specific element, right? So earlier we could just do numbers bracket zero equals one, and then we instantly changed the first index to a different value, right? Or like, yeah. Now we just do numbers dot set, and then you type your index first and then the value. So what this function is doing right here is setting the first index, no, sorry, the second index, because we start from zero, right? So zero, one. So one is the second index to 100, right? So now if you try to get the second value in our array list, it'll be 100. Next is the remove element. Now you can't remove an element in array, but you can do this in array list because array list can change size. So if you just type numbers dot remove, or like the name of your array dot remove, whatever value you want to remove, right? It'll remove that value. Pretty convenient. And then next we have the clear function. This one is just if you want to clear every single value in your array, like I'm just like get a blank array list. Like instead of making a new array list or like removing every single value that exists there, you just use dot clear. Simple, one line. And then like with arrays, we sometimes might want the length of the array or like the size, right? So here instead of dot length, we use dot size. And finally, sorting the array list. This is really useful because you probably don't want to type your own sorting algorithm. So we just do collections dot sort. I don't know why it's collections, by the way. And then you put the name of your array list and it sorts it in ascending order. So like, yeah, it's basically sorts in increasing order. So we have some questions here. So first one, what is the biggest difference between arrays and array lists? So they have many differences, but I'm looking for like the hugest difference, or like at least just like the first difference I mentioned. Does anyone know the answer to the first one?
Arrays are used to store multiple values, and array list is a dynamic array which can change the size.
Yeah, that's correct. The biggest difference is that arrays can't change size, whereas array lists can change size. Okay, second question. Are array lists naturally in Java? Like, can you just naturally use them? Like if you just open your compiler or whatever and then just directly use them. Can you do that? Okay, does anyone know the answer to question two? Can I get a volunteer for question two, please? There's some who are typing in the chat. Typing in the chat is okay, but it is encouraged to say your answer out loud. So someone said yes in the chat, and no, the answer is no. If you recall, I said you have to import a package to be able to use array lists. Array lists aren't just naturally in Java, but arrays are. You don't have to import any package to use arrays. Okay, last question. What is the starting index for arrays and array lists? Like, what's the first index? Want any volunteers?
Zero
They
index.
both are zero indexed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. The first index is zero, which is weird, but I don't know why people decided to do it that way. Okay, so this is it for computer science, and we're going to go to our next topic, which is pop culture.
All right, so in pop culture, we're gonna be teaching basketball. So before I even start, who here actually plays basketball or enjoys basketball? Does anyone actually like basketball? Um, yeah, but it is a very popular sport.
Yeah, if you play
Especially in the United
basketball or
States.
enjoy it, raise your hand, type in the chat, or you can just say it out loud if you want.
Yeah, type in the chat. Nah, I don't think they play basketball.
Well, you said not just if you play, like if you like to watch it or like
Yeah,
you know a
does
lot about it.
anyone enjoy watching basketball?
Like if basketball is your favorite sport or something. No, yeah, one person, Vishal, likes playing basketball.
All right, my man Bashal. All right, so yeah, but anyway, we're gonna be learning about basketball for pop culture. So, so, so here's a quick history of basketball. So basketball was invented in 1891 by Dr. James Naismith, as you can see on the right. He's holding a peach basket and a soccer ball. Um, so as we approach the mid 1800s, we can see that it's developed a lot from that. Enter the NBA, which is the National Basketball League, and then there's a lot of African American players that joined, and then one of the star players during that time was Wilt Chamberlain. And then as basketball progressed, we get into the 1980s, 1990s, the three-point line was introduced. And then obviously Michael Jordan came in and took the NBA by storm. So
Wait,
basketball has also,
you gotta explain why Dr. Naismith invented basketball.
why do you even, it was for like he wanted to introduce some kind of activity, right? Like for PE class or something, if I remember
I
correctly.
don't know, I forgot.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he wanted an activity for PE class, so he just grabbed a couple peach baskets and a soccer ball, and then he just had people play. Yeah. And then, yeah, so basketball has brought a lot of success. Obviously, there's a lot of basketball movies. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but Coach Carter is a very famous basketball movie. There's also Uncle Drew, Underrated, and Hustle. Yeah, all very legendary basketball movies. And then obviously there's the NBA, the National Basketball Association. It's a $1 billion business right now, and each NBA team, as you can see on the right, is estimated at almost $3 billion. So a very successful franchise. And then here are some of the greatest basketball players. Obviously, we've got Michael Jordan, we've got LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Steph Curry, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, Magic Johnson, and a lot more. But yeah, these are definitely some of the best to ever play.
You know what Tim Duncan's nickname is?
What is it? Wait, I actually don't
The
know.
big fundamental.
That is trash. That's a terrible nickname. That's a terrible nickname.
But do you know what Magic Johnson's real name is?
Irvin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Does anyone know LeBron James's nickname? Or Kobe Bryant's, or anyone's nickname, actually? Does anyone know LeBron James's nickname?
I got a tough question for you.
What?
What's John Morant's real name?
John Morant.
No, it's Demetrius Jamal Morant.
Is the brand Jordan named after Michael Jordan? Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's his shoes.
We'll get to that actually on
You
the
know,
next
Jordan
slide.
was actually supposed to sign with Converse, but then Nike gave him more money, so he signed with Nike.
Yeah, well, now Nike's successful. So yes, the Jordans are very famous, and they are based on Michael Jordan. Yeah, he made some pretty awesome shoes, as you can see on the right. Obviously LeBron's shoe is also extremely popular, as well as Curry's, Harden's, and what? Dinwiddie's? Maybe
Yeah, bro. Dinwiddie got fire shoes, bro. Do you
maybe
not
not
know that?
Dinwiddie, but LeBron's
Bro,
shoes, Curry's
Dinwiddie got his own
shoes,
shoes, bro.
Harden's
Like he got
shoes
his own
are
brand, bro.
bro, okay. Harden's shoes are pretty awesome. Yeah, so these are some really cool basketball shoes, as you can see right here. Is basketball playing the World Cup? Yes, basketball is playing the World Cup. Wait, who won this year again?
Germany, right?
Serbia?
No, was it Germany or Serbia?
Oh no, Germany. Yeah, so Germany
Yeah, it was
won this
Germany.
year's World Cup, followed
Franz
by
Wagner and
followed
Novak.
by wait, who was the second place? I don't know.
I think that might have been Serbia.
Yeah, Serbia came in second, and then Canada came in
And
third.
yeah,
United
Dylan Brooks,
States
bro. Dylan Brooks dropped 39 on our heads,
United States
bro.
finished fourth place. And yes, basketball is also playing the Olympics. So yeah, as you can see here, basketball played in the Olympics, and there's also college basketball. The NCAA is the college basketball, and then yeah, there's also the Dream Team, which I believe was in 1996, and it consisted of players like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, right? Magic Johnson, all the greats, and then and then we have the World Cup, which we talked about. So yeah, obviously we've been talking a lot about the NBA, but here's a little bit more details about it. So NBA is a league, obviously. There's 82 regular season games in the NBA. So there's two teams that are tied for the most championships, which is the Lakers and the Celtics, and they each have 17 championships. And the most recent championship winner is the Denver Nuggets. There's 30 NBA teams, 15 teams in the Eastern Conference, 15 teams in the Western Conference. And yeah, there could be even more teams in the future. We'll have to see. Then there's also something called the Basketball Hall of Fame. Yeah, you need to retire for at least 5 years, and then you can have a chance to get into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And then there's also fantasy basketball, which is pretty much a game that people play where they draft teams with NBA players in them and try to compete for the most points. So yeah, that's it for basketball.
I got one more question for you, Leo.
Okay, what?
What is Trey Young's real name?
Dude, what is this? I
Dude,
don't know.
answer it. It's
I don't
Rayford
know.
Trey Young.
Okay, whatever. Bashal asks, where is the NBA played? It is played in the United States. Yeah, in the United States. But there are a lot of
No, and a team in Canada.
yeah, and a team in Canada, Toronto. But there are a lot of players that come from European, right, Asia. So it is really
I don't
a
know about Asia, but like Europe and
okay.
Africa,
Nah,
yeah.
nah, we got some Asian players. Yeah, but
Bro,
it
like
is
I
the
know you
league.
don't. I know Utah Watanabe is not doing anything over there, bro.
The league is becoming worldwide now. So, but yes, it is played in the United States. So mostly United States players. All right, we'll move on to the next. Move on to astronomy.
All right, for astronomy, we're going to be talking about asteroids, comets, and meteoroids. All right, for comets, they're basically they're found in space in the solar system. They're split into several parts, mainly the nucleus and the tail. The nucleus is the solid main body of the comet, and it's made up of rock, dust, ice, frozen carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, methane, and ammonia. While the tail, it's basically just a long trail that follows the nucleus. It's created by the sun warming up the comet, and it turns the comet's ices into gases, which is then blown away from the sun by solar winds. There's also two tails, which is the dust tail and the gas tail. And the average comet nucleus is less than 6 miles across, while the average comet tail could stretch a few 100,000 miles long. Yeah, in the top right, you can see the comet. Yeah, it's got the nucleus, the coma. I didn't mention that, but it's basically just kind of like a miniature atmosphere around the comet, which is also just made up of gases. And then you can see the two tails. All right, you can go to the next slide now. All right, for asteroids, their size usually ranges from between 33 feet to as large as 329 miles across. There's currently around 1.3 million known asteroids in the solar system, and the majority of known asteroids are located in the asteroid belt, which is found between Mars and Jupiter. They're also classified into three classes, which is the M types, S types, and C types. M types are metallic and are made up of mostly nickel and iron. S types are stony, made up of silicate materials and nickel and iron as well. While C types are made up of clay and silicate materials, and they're also the most common type of asteroid. And yeah, the pictures to the right is just a asteroid, so it's basically just a big rock. All right, you can go to the next slide. All right, as for meteorites, they're commonly called three different things, which are meteoroids, meteors, meteoroids, and meteorites. But they're all different. A meteoroid is a small rocky or metallic body in outer space. They're like significantly smaller than asteroids. meteoroid, and when a meteoroid, comet, or asteroid visibly enters the Earth's atmosphere, then it's called a meteor. And when a meteoroid or asteroid survives the passage into the atmosphere and hits the ground without being completely destroyed, the leftovers are called meteorites. There's also an estimated 44,000 kilograms of meteoritic material, which lands on Earth every day. And most meteoroids are made up of either stone, iron, or a combination of the two. You can go to the next slide. All right, Halley's Comet. I think it's probably one of the most well-known comets. It's a short period comet, which means that it takes less than 200 years for the comet to orbit the sun. And it's also the only known short period comet that is visible to the naked eye from Earth. And it's visible from Earth around every 75 to 79 years. And the last time it appeared was in 1986. So the next time it'll appear would be in mid-2061. The nucleus is estimated to be 15 kilometers long, while the tail is estimated to be around 22 million kilometers long. And yeah, you can kind of see an image of the comet on the right. I think that's basically it for astronomy.